Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 1383rd Board of Directors regular meeting. Also, I think this is our fourth Zoom meeting. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. So I'd like to start with a call to order. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, we're doing Pledge of Allegiance first. I'm getting mixed up on the agenda already.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so now the roll call, please.
Yes. Director Tamani. Oh. Director Tamani.
Here.
Oh, thank you. Director O'Farrell.
Here.
Director Carhart.
Here.
Director Irwin.
Here.
Director Mounts.
Here.
All are present.
All right. Before we begin, I'd like Ian, who is our technical director here tonight, if he could please announce, make an announcement about how to participate to our attendees.
Okay. So if you would like to make a public comment, you can definitely use the chat feature down on the bottom, and that will get to all of us. And you can also make a public comment via voice as well. If you can, just raise your hand or let me know in the chat that you would like to make a comment, and then when we are able to, I will put you there, or I will make it so that you can, and I'll allow you to talk. And there will be the opportunity to use video if you would like. And it looks like we have Lindsay McDermott would like to make a quick announcement, or would like to say something.
Okay. Well, so we will begin with public comment, but public comment on non-agenda items. So if there is something that is not in the agenda tonight you'd like to discuss, please raise your hand, and you're more than welcome. We would love to hear from you. So I see Lindsay McDermott, your hand is up. Would you like to speak?
Give her just a second. And all right, Lindsay, whenever you are ready, you would just need to unmute yourself.
Oh, there she is.
You just need to unmute yourself, Lindsay. Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Good evening. Let's try that again. I just wanted to make a comment. I'm not sure if it's on the agenda, but we just want to thank each of you individually for the bike park, the new pump track. It has been fantastic. I work in public health, and I've been blown away by the diversity of people out riding, the different levels. It's just, and we have a couple kids who wanted to say thank you too. So. And it's just every time I've been able to go, I've been able to see people out there riding safely distanced, and just really enjoying community. And so it meets such a huge need for this time that we're in when there's not a lot of good news going on. And so I wanted to recognize each of you individually for supporting the bike park. And Mike, thank you for working with Garrett. I think I owe you for that as someone who works with him daily. So just kudos to each of you for providing this resource for the community. It's been huge, especially right now. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Lindsay. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment that is on a non-agenda item?
So we have one person who called in. For anybody who has called in and you would like to raise your hand, please press *9, and then that will raise your hand, and then I will be able to unmute you so that you can talk.
Okay. All right. Well, seeing that we don't have any additional public comments, we'll move to the next item, which is approval of the agenda. I have a motion.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll
Seconded.
second. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing there are none opposed, we'll move to the next item, which is the consent calendar. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
I will make a motion to move to the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Raymond got
And
it.
are there any comments or questions on the consent calendar? Okay, all right. Seeing there are no comments, all in favor? Motion?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is public hearing. We have two public hearings tonight. So in order to enter into the public hearing, we would need a motion to enter in the public hearing. So would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to enter into public hearing.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. So our first matter for public hearing tonight is to discuss the Fair Oak Recreation Park District Special Assessment District. So we have 3 resolutions. I believe that Susan is here from ESI. Is that right, Jennifer?
Yes, but before you do that, I just need to have a vote on the going into public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
You're
okay.
right. Okay. All in favor of the motion to move into public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. So hearing that there are none, we'll move to that first item of the special assessment districts.
Yes, so now would be the time for anyone that has public comments on any of the assessment districts, any of the 3, the Fair Oaks, the Gum Ranch, or the Phoenix Field. The board is ready to hear your public comments.
Okay. I don't see any hand raised either online or if there's no one on the phone that would like to comment. Do we have any discussion regarding the resolutions tonight?
So this is the last step in the assessment district process. Once the public hearing is closed, you all can vote on the resolutions. Those will approve the engineer's report and order the continuation of the assessments to be placed on the rolls for property taxes for next fiscal year. With this fiscal year, I guess.
Jen, are we able to make a motion to adopt all 3 of those resolutions in one motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Read the resolution numbers. Yep.
Okay. I motion to adopt resolution number 071520-01, along with resolution number 071520-02, along with resolution number 071520-03.
Second.
Very efficient. I'll second that.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing that there are none, we're going to move to the second
Do we have
item.
to close? Did we close the public hearing?
Well, we need to do this. Do we need to close it and then reopen another public hearing, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay. So a motion, please, to close the public hearing regarding the special assessment districts, please.
Move to close the public hearing and reopen a new public hearing.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we will now have the public hearing for the recreation fee schedule proposal. And
I move
Kate-
to open the public hearing for the consideration of the fee schedule changes.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is Katie, did you want to speak to this proposal?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we
All
can
right.
see you.
Well, all right. Good evening, Board of Directors and Mike and Jen as well. Just to introduce myself to the crowd, my name is Katie Koss. I'm the Recreation Superintendent for the district. And I am here to do our annual report for our recreation fee schedule, which is a requirement of Proposition 26, which just allows the opportunity for the public and our community to see the fees that we're setting forth in this upcoming fiscal year, and to have the opportunity to speak on those fees in any way, shape, or form that they might want to comment. And so usually I just briefly walk you guys through this, since I think all of you have seen this before. But basically in the attachment A, you'll see the fees that we have outlined. However, just to be clear about the process of approval, new fees are highlighted in yellow, and fees modified by 20% or more are highlighted in green, as well as eliminated fees are highlighted in red, and those all need board approval. Anything under 19% or lower is just the district administrator approval, so kind of just showing those this evening. However, have been viewed by Mike in advance. They're usually, when you look at the actual dollar amount that we change a fee by, it's very small. Thank you, Mike. Mm-hmm. And so basically when I walk you through this, you'll just see, yes, the yellow is required board approval for new fees. Not a whole lot of yellow except for directly related to childcare, which I'll speak about later in the board meeting. Fees modified by 20% or more are in green, which you can see are not exactly that high of a jump. We are eliminating some fees, which if there are any questions on those eliminations, I can definitely answer those. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward, and it's just a requirement as a public agency to do this. And we will need to adopt a resolution before we close out of this board report.
Katie, can I ask you, with the fees that are eliminated, a lot of these red ones, is that because the classes are not offered because of COVID, or the classes are permanently canceled?
So great question, Ralph. Actually, most of these aren't classes specifically. We do a range for classes just because there's so many differing classes. These are more programs by definition. So for example, just the very first ones you see, bubble soccer, rentals, and the sports and games team building package. We tried that for 2 years. Bubble soccer was really popular when it started, and it fizzled out, along with the maintenance of the bubbles and everything that comes with it. And so when we balanced the staff time that it takes to put that type of a program on, it was better to take a break from bubble soccer for right now. So we eliminate those fees just to keep our fees relevant for the community. So it's really either it's an eliminated program altogether, or if you look just a little bit further, you'll see Tiny Tot, and it's just an alteration for right now. I believe I'll be coming to you in August, but during COVID, we've kind of opted to stray away from the resident, non-resident, just to encourage anyone to come and take our classes and participate, just because of the restrictions. And we'll revisit that concept of resident, non-resident in August. But the fee schedule puts forth the fees we do know of, or the fees we know we want to get rid of, but there's still room within that fee schedule using that range of 0 to, I believe 300, but I'd have to scroll down to find it. It's allowed through Proposition 26 so that you have wiggle room, because they're very aware we're going to add new classes and programs throughout the year. So if we didn't do a range, we would be really stuck in a box. So I hope that answers your question. Some of them are definitely eliminated fees, and some are an elimination of an old fee, and then a new fee that will come in that's very similar but different enough that we have to eliminate it.
And if we add something during the year while this fee schedule is in effect, we just pick a price that is right? Doesn't have to be.
We just have to stick within the range that we identified for a recreation program. We also follow a methodology of looking at what the cost per hour is for the payout to the instructors, so that we don't price classes too high, but we don't price them under minimum wage. So we definitely stay within a really good window. We also analyze what the other districts around us are charging, so that we stay competitive, but not too expensive for our community.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions about the fee schedule? Hearing
Is this the place to address Mike's proposal of eliminating or reducing the out of district differential?
That will come in, I'm set to come to you in August. I was going to be coming to you in July, but when we were looking at the length of the board meeting tonight, we opted that since we're not actually putting on a lot of classes right now, no classes really, other than childcare, we could wait till August. So I will be coming to you in August, and that will run through Mike, of course, prior to coming to the meeting.
So the differential still exists until we deal with that.
It exists, but we don't typically charge it for everything. Like large scale programs versus classes are a lot different. So somebody paying $300 a week for a summer camp program, their difference is only $5. Doesn't make a lot of sense to someone that takes a $10 class and still has to pay a $5 differential. So that's what we're looking at is what is the trend with resident and non-resident fees. And we did assess a lot of park districts, and I'll be coming to you basically with a pie chart to show you who does charge resident versus non-resident fees and who doesn't, and where is that trend going and why. So I'll be coming to you.
That's good. I had talked to Mike about that because at first I thought we shouldn't do that. But after talking to Mike, it sounded reasonable if we have that kind of reciprocity from other nearby districts. And so I was going to propose that when you look at that, any adjacent district to ours that offers the same deal, we should reciprocate. That would be a neighborly thing to do with our surrounding park districts.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we should do it.
It's just a point of order. This isn't on our agenda, so perhaps we could move on to our next thing.
Well, if there are no other questions on the fee schedule, the next point of order would be to adopt the resolution.
I move to approve adoption of the resolution.
I'll second it.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, there are none.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved. Close the public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
So now we're going to move into our regular agenda items. Start with the first item is discussion and possible action on fiscal year 2021 preliminary budget for the bond. For Metro J.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Larkin. I'm the Administrative Services Manager for the district. And this item is the adoption of the preliminary budget for our bond fund, which is the Measure J money that we're using for all of our construction projects. And so the preliminary budget really is put into place as a placeholder until we do our final budget, which you'll get next month. So this looks a little anemic and there's not a lot in it, and that's purposeful. We basically, what I did was just take money that we have not expended in 1920. I moved it into the preliminary budget, and that will allow us to pay for any work that's already been done or is currently being done until such time as the final budget is uploaded by the county in October. So you will see come back to you next month a much more robust looking budget with projects and costs for all those projects. And so right now for this evening, I'll just go through very quickly what is actually in this budget. There's $17.5 thousand in salaries and benefits. That was really just rolled over from the 1920 budget. We didn't actually expend any of that. So that is just in there in case we need it. Services and supplies is anything outside of the typical construction project costs. So for example, there's 15,000 in legal services in case we need to use our attorney for anything. There's $50,000 as a placeholder in general outreach in case we need to do outreach on any of the projects. We don't actually anticipate that. And then $4,500 in the bond audit account, because we now have to add that to our regular yearly financial audit. And so the rest of the money, the bulk of the money you'll see is down in structures and improvements, which is in the capital accounts. And there's a couple things I want to point out that I put in there by mistake. Swallow Way I should not have listed the full cost of the park because we're only actually spending 200,000 or so out of Measure J. So that's listed at 833,000. That's actually the full cost, but a lot of that's not coming out of Measure J. So you'll see that as a change in the final budget. The next item is the Phoenix Park Fields project at 1.5 million. That should actually be split between Phoenix Park and Village Park projects. And then finally, the bike park at 20,000. That was the second half of the cost of the bike park, plus some incidental costs that I think Mike will talk about later. And so that total comes to 2,353,800. Like I said, that money is just in there so that we can pay anything we need to pay between now and sometime in October when the final budget is uploaded. And if you have any questions, I am ready.
Impressive.
To me.
Yeah, you'll enjoy the next month. Mario's putting together a very nice little spreadsheet with all the projects and the costs for each of the projects, and it will be much more entertaining and interesting than this.
Sounds fun.
This is something the Bond Oversight Committee will get copies of too?
Sure, yeah, they'll get this, but I think better for them to review would be the final budget.
Right.
Because we'll have all the detailed information that they'll be looking for.
I motion to adopt resolution number 071520-05 approving the preliminary budget for 341C fiscal year 2020 and 2021.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Jennifer, if you can mark me as an abstain, I'd appreciate that. I support the budget, but I disagree with the 17,500 going into salaries and employee benefits.
Okay.
So I want to thank you. Okay, so we'll move to our next item, which is 9.2. It's a receive and file, and this involves removal of the pipe, organ, and stage in the community clubhouse. And I know that we received several public comments on this issue, and I'd like to upfront thank everyone who sent them in. They've been made part of the record, and we're going to take additional public comments after the board discusses this item. So if you'd like to speak on this item, please raise your hand on either the chat function, or if you've called in over the phone, please raise your hand on the phone and we'll make sure that you have an opportunity to speak. So Mike, would you like to start with this one?
Thank you. Yes. Good evening. This is a directive from the board last month for me to look into the feasibility of potentially removing the stage in the clubhouse and the organ, and which would give more space for programming and activities inside the clubhouse with those items no longer there. We did do that, and we met in early July 7th, I believe was the date we met, and the cost estimation was surprising because it actually ranges between $675,000 and $850 to remove the stage. The reason being is that it's an older building and the electrical system is all under there, and they would have to be completely rerouted so you could use that space. Also, with the increased capacity of that facility, by removing the stage, you would have to add additional restroom facilities. The current footprint inside the restrooms would not accommodate those needed spaces, so we'd have to build a new restroom. And the fire sprinkler system would need to be redone. And there was one other piece in there. But anyway,
The trusses.
Yeah, the wall was a load-bearing wall, and that required some substantial changes. So you have the figure there. Probably you can decide if you want to take action or no action. The one thing that I do need to confirm, because we will be signing a change order to WMB, is that the cost estimation and the work to get this done was approximately $3,600. So there's a change order for our contract with WMB on that. And I would just take a concurrence from the board that it would be okay for me to sign that change order without bringing it back to the board if the board so chooses.
I have no problem.
Good.
No issue.
No issue with the $3,600 change order. Okay, yeah. Because I mean, the cost here is a non-starter in my opinion. Can't do it.
Yeah, I second that, and I have a feeling the majority of the board agrees with that.
Agreed.
Yes, no, I agree as well. So are there any other board discussion we want to have on this item before I open it up to the attendees that'd like to make a comment? Okay, so we'll start with, it looks like Mike Hop. I don't know if I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I apologize if I'm not.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Actually, it's Becky Wood.
Oh, hi, Becky.
Calling in from my copy.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Raymond. Hi, Ralph.
Hello.
I was pleased to see the engineer's estimate because I would disagree with removing the pipe organ and the stage from the clubhouse. I think they're things that we want to keep. It would be nice to see the pipe organ used more than it currently is. But that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep it as is.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Randy Warwick.
Just a moment. These are just joining as panelists. There we go. Hi, Randy. You just need to unmute.
Yeah.
Hi, there we go.
I'm
Randy.
unmuted. I'm on a. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on a satellite internet hookup, which with all the latency, it's lousy. Anyway, first of all, I'm grateful that evidently the staff recommended against removing the organ. I'm the chairman of the chapter of ATOS that owns and operates the instrument. And, you know, as a aside, I mean, I'd hate to see San Diego's Balboa Park be the only other park in the whole state that has a pipe organ if this is removed. Seriously, I think it adds a flavor to that building. And, you know, we've been a good steward with the district. We've always taken care of the building. It's never been left in mess. We participate in It's Our Park Day, It's My Park Day, and as well as the Chicken Festival, we get involved with that. We, in fact, on some past Chicken Festival years, we have, when the building wasn't being used in the afternoon, we've gotten volunteers to play the organ and people can come in and rest for a while to get out of the heat. Certainly that's the kind of thing we can do. We want to keep doing the movies and concerts. Actually, I totaled up, since the organ's been there, we've done roughly 170 events, mostly concerts and movies. And unfortunately recently it hasn't been used because of the mice got into under the stage where the reservoirs are. I won't explain what a reservoir is, but basically they ate away some of the leather and it breached the air system in the organ so it wouldn't play. And we did get it fixed late last year in time for the movie in January. But, you know, that's why there hasn't been much activity. We were going to use it a year ago last summer, and last fall we were going to do a silent movie. Then with the organ unplayable, you know, that didn't happen. So recently it hasn't been used much, and we do intend to step up our use. Again, it's after the building reopens too, obviously. But whenever that happens, and we're continuing to maintain the organ, we have our couple of our people over there have been working on it recently because the building's basically unusable for conventional uses or regular uses. Anyway, I would support, and I appreciate your support, I mean, that we keep the organ there. We hope to be a good steward and a good partner with the district into the future. That's all.
Comments and for attending tonight. Just as a kind reminder to everyone, if we could try to keep comments to about 3 minutes, that would be great. Next, we have Leon Korkus.
I've unmuted.
There you
Great.
go.
We can hear you.
I'll keep it quick. I'm very happy to hear that the budget was so ridiculously high that we're not going to get rid of the stage or the organ. I'd just like to make public comment that with all the changes going on, I'm hoping that you guys come up with a protocol which we can make far better use of the stage and the pipe organ that we've ever done before. As the face of Fair Oaks is starting to change a little bit and come back to life, it would be fantastic if we were able to have, you know, blues shows, jazz shows. I brought a couple promoters through, but when they got the packet of what you'd have to, the hoops you have to jump through to use that property, not easy. So just saying, it'd be great if there's an easier way to have outside promoters promote shows inside that property. That's it.
Thank you, Leon.
Thanks, Leon.
We all welcome.
Next up, we have Terry Clifton.
Terry, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
You're very, very quiet. You gotta speak a little bit louder and closer.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Terry Clifton. I'm the treasurer of the Sierra Chapter Theater Organ Society. First, I'd like to thank the district staff and as well as the board of the Fair Oaks Historical Society and the others who provided written support in favor of keeping the organ. I was told that one of the reasons that questioned the need for the organ was that it wasn't being used, and that's a true statement. Randy already noted the rat damage that we had last year, and this year we're going to be out of service mainly because of the virus and the scheduled restoration of the clubhouse. When we do have an event, I constantly run into people who remark that they didn't even know the organ was there. And I have to reply, yeah, it's Fair Oaks' best kept secret. We would like to let the board know that we are totally in favor of doing more silent movies, perhaps on a quarterly schedule. With sellout crowds, if the district still can't at least break even on these events, we've got volunteers who are willing and able to help before, during, and after each event. We believe the organ can be a win-win for both organizations as well as the merchants and restaurants of Old Fair Oaks before and after evening of silent movie event. And we thank you in advance for your support.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for coming tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our last public comment is Cheryl Young.
Cheryl, you'll have to make sure you unmute yourself before we can hear you. There you go.
Oh, thank you. I'm Tom Sebo, Vice President of the Sierra Chapter American Theater Organ Society. I was very concerned about what would happen during the winter months if the stage is removed during November, December, and January. Where would we go for any type of activity if the stage was removed and the organ was removed? So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and carry on.
For attending tonight. Okay, so given that this, if there are no other public comments, which I don't see any on our chat bar here, given that this item was just a receive and file, if there's no other board discussion, I'd like to move on to our next item on our agenda.
Before we leave it,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
a couple of comments I would totally agree with. And in terms of, the venues for the clubhouse and for the use of the organ, I'm not sure how we explore what those might be, but it would be nice to have Mike and staff come back with some suggestions about how to give both the clubhouse and the organ some more exposure and more opportunity.
Yeah,
I would love to see that.
And if I could, our consultant is starting, I believe this week, tomorrow, on our pro forma and our program plan. We will task him specifically too with those items, the organ and the stage in the clubhouse, to look into how we can maximize the use of those areas.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I would just comment on that as well. Like, I just think that with that organ, it is a unique piece of equipment, and I truly believe we just need to think a little bit outside the box in ways to use it in the future. I mean, obviously we have these traditional silent movies and all that kind of stuff, and that's just gonna, I think the interest is gonna wane in that over the decade to come or the years to come, and there's probably ways that we can incorporate some youth and some cool ways to use that. So, encourage us to think a little bit outside the traditional box. And then as Leon noted, I'd like to see if we can look into, what are those stumbling blocks to get outside promoters, and are we missing anything with any kind of variety of bringing different types of music into the village and arts into the village, because of if we're just making it too difficult for outside people to come do that.
I second what Darren and John just said. I think those are important outcomes from this little exercise.
One thing that I just wanted to note, I read through all of the letters, as I'm sure you all did as well, from people that wrote in. And something that I saw a lot of and concern was where children's theater, where theater could perform during the months when, it could rain and you couldn't use the Memorial Amphitheater. And I just wanted to make sure all of those that are attendees and the public does know that we are proposed to build a black box, and we will have a theater, and the idea is that we will be able to have theater all year round in this new amphitheater. So I want to make sure the public's aware of that. And yeah, I think it would be great not only for the district to look into additional ways, but I would really challenge our community and those members that, are really in support to come alongside us and bring their ideas, their thoughts, their creativity as well. It takes a village of Fair Oaks to really see these great ideas come to fruition, so we can use the organ more. And those are my thoughts.
Well said.
I agree. I would love to hear more too from everyone. Anyone who has ideas, we are always open to hearing them. And I think it would be, even tonight, and we've been getting so many great suggestions there. Right now in the chat box, I saw, looks like Becky had written, and I want to make sure it gets into the record. It said when you rent the clubhouse, it could be on the form that is there. Some events might like to have a person play to emphasize parts of their program. So I think that's a great idea and something we can definitely look at. So thank you, everyone. I know there's quite a few attendees that joined us tonight, in particular for this agenda item. I'd like to welcome you to stay if you'd like for the rest of the board meeting. If you'd like, from the comfort of your couch or wherever you are tonight. But thank you again for all the comments and taking the time to either write in or speak tonight. So if there's no further discussion, I'd like to move to our next agenda item, number 9.3, which is discussion and possible action regarding a change order for the contract with CALA. So Mike, would you like to take this one?
Yes, thank you. this item here is almost just a housekeeping item. Once the Proposition 68 funds from the state of California, we did not receive those for the theater renovation. The board then opted to pay for the theater renovation through Measure J funds. We needed to take that those funds and that were assigned to CALA, who is our contractor for Village Plaza Park, and shift them over to WMB. WMB was a subcontractor under CALA, but once the theater project went forward, they became a separate entity. And so those funds that had been allocated for that needed to shift over to WMB. And you're just approving that change order.
I'll make a motion to approve, what is this, item 9.3 regarding the change order for the contract with CALA.
I'll second.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor? The motion to accept?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, now seeing that there are none, we will move to the next item, which is the next couple ones are discussing discussion and possible action regarding the naming of parks. So the first one, item number 4, is the naming of the park on Swallow Way. Mike, do you want to take this again?
Thank you. As you know, we are getting ready to develop Swallow Way Park, or the park on Swallow Way, I should probably say, since it doesn't have an official name yet. And the Community Resource Committee met on July 1st, and they have recommended that the board, that the park be named Swallow Way. Our naming policy is attached to the staff report. I'm going to put that on the screen here. And you can see that we're basing the name on B1, the neighborhood geographic or common usage identification, and the committee has recommended that the name of the park be Swallow Way, and the committee obviously can chime in on that as well.
I mean, I personally would like to see it a little bit more broad than just a single street. I mean, it serves Curry Downs, right? So, you know, maybe something like Curry Commons Park or something along those lines. But that's just my opinion.
I'm not opposed to Swallow Way, or it being called Swallow Way, but I was wondering if it would be possible to maybe ask the neighbors in that area, that community, if they had any suggestions, and then maybe our committee could maybe look at them and then either select one and bring it to the board. Or I was trying to recall how Madison Place had been named, because I believe that park was named before I became a board member, but I remember as being just a resident getting an email from the district asking, kind of soliciting input from people to see for suggestions of names. I mean, do you, Katie or Jennifer, do you remember how Madison Park, or I guess Ralph or John too, you were on the board when that happened?
Yeah, I think John's the one of the majority that shot down my recommendation of Strawberry Fields. And we went with the development name. I can't recall whether we asked the developers or not, but because the place was given the identity as Madison Place, and it was off of Madison, it seemed reasonable.
I think we did ask the developers, and you know what, Ralph, Strawberry Fields was great. It was a great song, but you know, it just didn't really fit that location.
You always liked the Stones better. I know it.
Mike, I believe, didn't we send out for this? We sent out an email communication or something to solicit input.
No, not for this. Now, I know Katie has done some investigating on how Madison Place, I believe Madison Place, correct, Katie?
Yes.
Was named, and so she does have some information about the process that you used in the past.
Yeah, so I was there in 2015, in March of 2015, when this all went down. We did ask the developer, and they came back with hidden something, but then the committee at the time, which I want to say Ralph was on, and I can't remember who else, came up with Strawberry Fields and the other name. And when they brought it as a recommendation to the board sat at that meeting and came up with some ideas and ended up with Madison Place, just organically at the meeting. We did put it out to the community as well. The ideas from the community didn't seem to fit the location of that park. A lot of the ideas had a namesake in it, which we were straying away from based on our policy. So that's how we ended up with Madison Place.
I'm fine, and I'm sure other board members would be fine too, to, go back to the community, go to the neighborhood, go to Curra Downs, whomever. We just, for lack of other alternatives, Swallow Way Park seemed to be the best choice at the time. There may be better choices. I don't have a problem with as much, outreach as we need to do. We don't need to name it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, curious to know if there's something we can do to incorporate, a little bit more feedback, with the community and the kids. Maybe we can make a fun little, I don't know, contest or something, and then we come up with, 5 names that come from the community, and then we can sort of act as a panel and pick one of those. I think it'd be sort of cool.
Yeah, we can do that.
My thought would be, I was comfortable with the 3 names proposed for the 3 parks tonight, but if we could take that name back to the community and say that's the proposal, unless you come up with something, unless you object and come up with something better. In other words, present it to the neighborhood as this is the default, unless there's a compelling other name.
I mean, I think you're right, Ralph. I mean, it's very possible that Swallow Way may be the preferred name anyway by the community or by the neighbors that live right there. But I do like the idea of, I don't think we need to do something, I don't think we need to do something very time consuming or something that, we don't need to have a consultant do it or anything like that. I think it's just something really simple, like an email, or I know that there are some groups within that neighborhood. I can see on the chat right here, Amy Larson was recommending letting the Curra Downs HOA know. I know they have, it says it serves other neighborhoods as well, so she's not recommending naming it Curra, but they would have an email list of some sort too in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I think one of the perils of doing, as I think Darren suggested, is if we don't like any of the crazy names like Strawberry Fields or something that people come up with, it's kind of awkward to solicit ideas and then go back to our own. So that's why I would suggest we take the name that's associated with the location, which it's another side thing. This park is being paid for by the entire community, and like Madison Place Park, it's somewhat hidden. I just ran into some people that thought Madison Place Park was a private park. They didn't know it was public, and I had to let them know, no, that's actually a public park. So by calling it Swallow Way, it identifies it by location. If somebody's looking for the park, they can look on a map and see where Swallow Way is. But I would take the approach of tentatively, going out there and saying tentatively that's the name, unless there's something better that the neighborhood can suggest. I don't have a problem with going out to Curra Downs too. They were active in promoting the acquisition of the land and the development of the park, so they should have a voice too.
Is there a deadline that we need to have the park named by? I mean, I guess we probably have months. There's nothing being done.
Yeah, we do have quite a while. The other, even if it took longer than the park to be built, we can put the sign in later, but it would be nice to have a name by the time we cut the ribbon.
Yeah, well, that's a long ways off, I think.
It's a ways away.
Typically, as part of the construction drawings, you'll specify the sign and want to be able to tell the contractor what the sign should say. That would apply to all three parks we're doing, you know. So otherwise, like Mike says, we'll be adding the sign later under our own, under our own actions.
If there isn't any more board discussion, I do see we have a public comment that someone would like to make. So it looks like Garrett McDermott.
Hello. Just a thought I had. I know that I from what I've heard, that Justin Drake was a big influence in getting Measure J passed, and the reason he was trying to do that was to get the Swallowway Park done, and maybe people with more knowledge of it have a better understanding than I do. But it could be a good way to, help promote community involvement to recognize Justin and call it Drake Park, and in the future, other people might be more inclined to take on the work that Justin did in order to improve their community if they could possibly have a park named after them. That's my suggestion. Thanks.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett. I also see on the sidebar chat, we have, I just want to read it so it's in the record as well. A comment by Amy Larson, and her idea is to do it, or to name the park after David Cox, who's a former neighbor and senator. His wife still lives in the neighborhood and she serves the community as well. So that would be another suggestion. So I do like the idea of, like I said before, asking for some input from Fair Oaks residents. I think that would be nice, a nice idea. So should we move to, if there's no other comments on this one, we can move to our next item, which is item 5, a discussion possible action regarding the naming of the bike park at Phoenix Park.
If I could, I just want to clarify, action here that you want us to go to the neighborhood, reach out to the neighborhood, and then come back to the board with the input that we received from the neighborhood. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Although I do, thinking about Ralph's comment about how this is for all of Fair Oaks, I mean, I do think maybe it would be, I mean, it's being paid for collectively, right, by everyone. I would like to see if it could go out on the Fair Oaks social media and both Facebook, Instagram, and then maybe the email list that is used that hits everyone, like reaches everyone across the district as well.
Yeah, the acquisition of that started quite a long time ago when Jeff Simcoe and I tried to get excess land from the Hazel project. And ultimately, when Jack, our interim director, and I went down to Susan Peters' office, it was Susan who made the action that gave us the land, the $180,000 piece of land. So just to throw that in the mix, the county itself contributed, a big chunk of the value of that park. I guess when it's done, it's $1 million park, and the county contributed basically a fifth of that. Just for historical perspective, we have to remember the county was a big player in that.
Does that answer your question, Mike? Oh, you're on mute.
Good luck, Mike.
Yeah.
Don't offend anybody.
And see if they like the idea of strawberry fields.
No.
So another discussion and possible action would be the name, was agenda item number 5. So regarding the naming of the bike park at Phoenix Park.
Mm-hmm. I hope it's less controversial. That sounded like a good name in the staff report, and when you're ready, I'll make a motion for that.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm fine with Phoenix Bike Park. I think it works well. It identifies where it is. The other kind of elements of Phoenix Park are named very similar because you have like the Phoenix Dog Park, the Phoenix Gardens. So I do like that part of it, is that it would kind of lines up and is a good descriptor, I suppose, of where the park is at. Does anyone else have a comment?
I'm fine with Phoenix. I'm fine with Fair Oaks.
Well, to speed things up, I'm going to make a motion that we call it the Phoenix Bike Park.
I'll second that motion.
Before we take a vote, I do see we have we have a public comment on this issue. So I would like to have Garrett McDermott, if you'd like to speak, please.
Hello, board members. Just wanted to mention a couple of things that I've done with trying to figure out and why the confusions come up with the Fair Oaks versus the Phoenix Bike Park. When it was originally built, it was, has the Fair Oaks Bike Park name on it. Last year I created the Facebook page, not even realizing it was called the Fair Oaks Bike Park, and originally called it the Phoenix Bike Park because it was at Phoenix Park. And then, so since then, it kind of came up to me a couple times that there's already a Phoenix Bike Park somewhere else in the country. There's the city of Phoenix, and I'm not sure if that's where their bike park is, but it's confusing when you say Phoenix Bike Park because a lot of times they're associated with the city where they're built. And because there's so few bike parks, people like over in Sacramento, not living in the Fair Oaks area, if they hear Phoenix Bike Park, they might not know it's right here in Fair Oaks. They might think it's in Phoenix, Arizona, or people down in Galt. And we've had people come from outside our district just recently to come and visit the Fair Oaks Bike Park. So it helps just distinguish, I think, Fair Oaks, and sets us apart as one of the few communities in California that has a bike park. So that's kind of why I would hope we could keep it as the Fair Oaks Bike Park. The logo that I had designed is with the Phoenix. I think we'd still keep that as a representation of how it is at Phoenix Field. Also, reaching out to the community, about 2 weeks ago, I did a poll knowing that this was coming up. And so there was, I think, 46 participants in the poll, and there was about a 67% vote for the Fair Oaks Bike Park.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I think I jumped the gun on the motion, so I would amend my motion, if the board agrees, amend my motion to reflect that name, Fair Oaks Bike Park, instead of Phoenix Bike Park. That makes sense. Yeah. So I would amend my motion.
I will amend my second.
Just one thing to note, that if we ever want to do a bike park again, or what's that going to look like, guys?
Fair Oaks Bike Park 2.
2.0.
Well, I mean, we shouldn't be flippant. I mean, that doesn't really work. Fair Oaks Bike Park 2. So, I mean, I guess we would then have to make the decision. I mean, I would think then we would have to make that one the name of the park. So that's my thought on that. If everyone decides to
the only other choice in my mind would be Phoenix Field Bike Park, reflecting, the historic use of what that property was. But I think Garrett makes a good point. And I mean, it's, once again, it's an opportunity to put Fair Oaks on the map, the Fair Oaks, the community, as well as Fair Oaks Park District, as being unique in that it has a very, very special facility. I was out there with my grandson, and then Garrett invited me again out there to do my own ride. If you haven't done it, go do it. It's quite the experience. And if you can make it all the way around without crashing or falling off, I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, the Fair Oaks is, I think it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, we're not going to put a second bike park in. I mean, where are we going to do it? If we did it, it would be another one at Phoenix, I believe. We just don't have the land anywhere else to do it. And I don't know any communities that have two bike parks anywhere. maybe Los Angeles or San Diego or something like that. But
and any name is just a working name. If at some time in the future years we want to change it, board can change that. And in the meantime, it reflects what that is. Incidentally, the Phoenix name originally came from the Phoenix olive packing plant out there. When the Flying Club created Phoenix Field, they picked up on that name. So that's where we get the Phoenix from.
Interesting.
So I'd like to add, we have a couple comments that have been made on the chat bar here. So I just want to make sure that they're read so everyone knows them. There's a comment from Shelley, and she says to name it Phoenix Park Bike Park. There's also a comment from Amy Larson, who says that she agrees with Garrett's reasoning. They very recently actually went to Morro Bay Bike Park, and like John says, this is Amy speaking, it puts Fair Oaks on the map. People from out of town make special trips to bike parks like Truckee or Elk Grove, etc. Would it be too wordy to call it Fair Oaks Bike Park at Phoenix Field? That's kind of a long sign, I guess. I don't know. But
sometimes in my conversations with people trying to say where it is, I do say it's the Fair Oaks Bike Park located at Phoenix Park.
That's not a bad idea, Linda. I had a rest area one time that had a name given to it, and it had to be stated what town it was near by reason of the community request. So it doesn't hurt. The long name could be that. Short name could be Phoenix Bike Park. Long name could be Phoenix Bike Park at Fair Oaks Bike Park at Phoenix Field.
Well, I think that is just more of a marketing and communications piece. So, I mean, I think in the marketing communications, we can do that and we can, direct for that to happen. But we have a motion on the floor. Shall we, Director Tamani, take a vote on that?
Okay, just can I verify can you clarify what the motion is, please?
The motion is to name the bike park the Fair Oaks Bike Park.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. I don't hear any. So Fair Oaks Bike Park it is. We will move to our next park name on the agenda, which is item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding the naming of the park in the Gum Ranch development.
Yeah, directors, this is your newest park coming up. I don't have a great timeline. I hope you don't ask me for when we're going to start work on that. That it's still in the developer's hands. And I'm sure COVID has something to do with the slowness of this project. But we do have to come up with a name for it. And it has been proposed or recommended by the Community Resource Committee at their July 1st meeting that it be named Gum Ranch Park. And for the very same reason, actually a little different reason for naming, it would be under the historic figure or place, which would be the third part of your naming policy. So.
And just a little bit of history on that. That park was acquired by the Gums in 1947. It was originally owned from the 1870s by the Rush family. And the last remaining person there that was a Rush was Irving Gum's aunt. He managed the farm for a number of years before he took it over in 47. It was dryland wheat all the way up until sometime in the late 80s. And then they started doing pumpkins and doing strawberries there. Claudia and Irving passed away, I think, within the last 5 years. And, I think it's very appropriate that we recognize their long-term ownership of the property. Irving used to be out there. You could hear him in the middle of the night on his tractor plowing. He had so many offers of countless dollars to sell the land. He loved that piece of property. So, that's why I'm in favor of Gum Ranch Park. The developer there, Elliott Holmes, has named that Heritage at Gum Ranch. The Heritage at Gum Ranch, that's the subdivision name. It's on the street called Tuckaroo. I suggested to Claudia one time, you know, that when you subdivide property, you don't have to take the county's names. You can suggest your own. And she said, I picked those. So I backed off on that one. We don't want to call it Tuckaroo Park, though.
Any other comments on the name Gum Ranch? Okay. Do someone like to make
Did
a
I
motion?
make the motion on that? I'm emotionally connected to the property. I would make a motion that we call the new park Gum Ranch Park.
I'll second Ralph.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Gum Ranch.
Can I ask for just a clarification here on that one? In terms of signage, I'm going to guess the signage is going to read Gum Ranch and not Gum Ranch Park.
How is
It would read Park.
All right. Do we call it Phoenix Phoenix
says
Park? Or do we call it Fair Oaks Park on the sign, or Fair Oaks? I think we should be consistent throughout our name, our sign branding.
Okay. So I will look at those other ones. Maybe Katie might know. She's a little bit more in tune to that. I think it's Madison Place Park. Is that what we have on the sign?
Sean just commented, Mike, and he said yes.
Okay.
Park is on all of the signs.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So it would be on the signage then would say Gum Ranch Park.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, so moving to the next item, discussion and possible action on adoption of changes to the 2021 MOU for the employees.
So this is really a housekeeping item. At the last board meeting with the budget, the board approved some personnel changes, and a couple of those needed to be updated in the MOU. And those two items are highlighted in the MOU, but I'll just read them. So one of them is only full-time regular employees are now going to be eligible for a COLA. And then the other one was a change to the amount of the health benefit that the district pays from 9%. The negotiated rate was 7%. So that will change in this MOU. Those are the only two things that need to be updated.
I'll make a motion to approve 9.7, adoption of changes to the 2019 to 2021 memo of understanding.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing that there are none, we'll move on to our next item. Item number 8 is, item number 8 involved the resident, non-resident fees, but we're moving that to the next. We're gonna move that to August. So we'll move to item 9, which is discussion and possible action on 2 bond oversight committee appointments.
Yeah, yes, directors. This is the Bond Oversight Committee. If you're familiar with it, is the group that advises, does some advising on the bond projects. As well, their primary duty and their main charge is to make sure that the funds are spent appropriately, the bond funds are spent appropriately and legally. That is their main charge. You have established this committee as part of the Measure J, and the bylaws require to have a minimum of 5. It does not recognize a maximum or state a maximum. When the Community Resource Committee had their meeting on July 1, I made a mistake and told them that there were currently 11 members. There were 8 members there are actually 8 members on that committee currently, after a couple of members have resigned for personal reasons and other obligations. And so the committee was split on their recommendation based on my error. And I want to be certain that that's put into the record, that that split was due to my error on that. and that we have two new applications right now that have applied to be on the board. These came about unsolicited, which is nice to have that that happen. And so there's two, I guess, in the pool right now that we can choose from, or we can select both, or we can do whatever you would choose to do on those. And you can see here, I'm going to share this real quick. The committee makeup is kind of the one thing that we really want to watch. And you'll see right here, it says 1 member active in the business organizations in the community, 1 member active in the senior citizen organization, and 2 members who are associated with or members of the district partners. And then the remaining members will be residents within the district boundaries. Now, you could have more than 2 members who are active business, which you currently do, Gary Jules and also Keith
Walter.
Yeah, Walter, thank you. That they both have businesses in the village. And so it's not only 1, it could be multiples, but you do have to have a minimum of those numbers of folks that represent the community as a whole, according to your bylaws. And then a couple of other qualifyings are that they have to be 18 and they have to live in the district and they can't be employees of the district. So anyway, that's what we have right there. The committee was split, and I can let them speak to their reasoning on the split, but really one of them was that 11's enough and we'll be okay with 11. And that's why my error in giving them the numbers was important in their decision.
So Mike, I have a question on process. When we picked the initial group, we indicated it was a rotational thing. There's, I forget what the duration of their seat is, but we said there'd be turnover. A number of people that applied were not picked for the initial committee. Do we have some process whereby we let them know when there's vacancies, or do they have to, you know, how do we let them know, or did we let them know in this case?
We have not yet. We can. We do still have their applications on file, so we can go back to them and let them know, and they can be part of that pool that then you would select from.
So Ralph, it's your thought that you want to go back and solicit interest from those that qualified or actually applied early?
Well, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into this, but I can anticipate people who I know that didn't get on the first committee, that were disappointed, that when they find out we've appointed some new ones, they will ask me the question, well, why didn't you let me know? You know, and I will look sheepish and say, I don't know. So that's why I raised the question. You know, I don't want to be confronted with people later that say, well, we applied for the first committee, we weren't selected, and now there's vacancies and we weren't notified.
I mean, well, you know, the discussion that Raymond and I had, and I'm not going to speak for him, but I guess my view on this is that even though it's a large committee and maybe a little bit cumbersome, I mean, the more people that we bring into the process of, you know, bond oversight, whatever it is that we're doing, it's exposing more people to how the district operates. And the 5 of us that currently serve on the board are not going to be around forever. So I look at this as an opportunity for some kind of succession planning for people who want to become more familiar with the board. So and Raymond's got some good points. I mean, I worked with the Board of Supervisors. It was 5 people. I worked with the City Council. That was 9 people. I've worked with groups that were bigger than that. And the bigger they get, the harder they are to manage. But there is value, and exposing, what we do as an institution in various shapes to the broader population.
And you've expressed that desire for a long time, and I fully support that. I think we need to introduce more people to the business of the park board and groom people for future seats and whatever. So I completely support that. It's just the question of how do we publicize when there is vacancies, and I'm going to defer to the rest of the board and your committee on that. I just wanted to raise that question. Do we make a public announcement? Do we put it on our web page? Do we have some way where we open it up to anybody that's interested to create that pool of candidates?
I would propose, if Director O'Farrell's okay with it and the rest of the board, perhaps we go back to committee, see about kind of what you're discussing, Director Carhart, about, what our policy procedure is, perhaps update that when it comes to these vacancies, and then come back with a hopefully unanimous decision of some sort at our next meeting.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
That works for me too.
So again, clarification, you want us to reconvene the committee, develop the processes, and then come back to the board and get the processes approved?
Yes. Well, can you streamline that by developing the process with the committee and then just notifying people of that process so that they can apply by the next meeting? Or
my guess.
You just want to come up with the process by the next meeting and then potentially advertise the vacancies. I think you can do it all in 1 month if you want.
I'm okay with doing it in 1 month if we can.
Are you saying then that the committee would come up with the process, we'd implement the process, and then bring those applications to the board?
Precisely.
Well, bring the applications to the committee first, right? Yeah, and then to the board.
Yeah.
No, I think that sounds great, and we already have 2 excellent applicants. So I'm looking forward to. I think it's great to set up a formal process and then see who applies. I think that's great. Okay. Well, if there's no other discussion on this item, let's move to the next item, which is item 10, discussion and possible action on the old Fair Oaks Library renovation.
Let me pull that up.
Is this Mike, is this you or is it?
Yeah, it is. I'm just trying to pull it up off of the link from the agenda, and it seems to be a bad link, but I can discuss it.
There's no staff report, that's why.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. That's right. That's why we're going to discuss it. There is no staff report for this, and I'll just give a quick background on it. I went to the board. We went to the board and presented to the board a renovation of the library using Measure J funds, and it was over $960,000. That fee caused the board to ask us to look into additional options for that property, including selling it and tearing the building down and turning it into parking. We've begun that process. I do have some information on that, but I'm asking the board if they would allow me to look into a third possibility or alternate possibilities, letting our consultants coming in, and as he comes in, task him too with the possibility of what that old library might be used for under the Arts and Entertainment program. And it may come out with nothing, it may come out with something. We're not in a rush to do this. It doesn't cost us any additional money to have the consultant look at it and say, yeah, it's probably best to sell it, or no, you probably should turn it into a video arcade or whatever he might come up with. So that way we have some time to be able to get more public input on the processes and the project. And so that's all I'm asking at this point, is just to allow me to look at additional options for that property.
In other words, highest and best use.
Exactly.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Fine with that as well.
You know, Mike, some time ago, we looked at just making it the basic accessibility back when we were studying accessibility. And I just want to point out to the other board members that at the time, we talked about the potential of putting a couple of handicap spaces on the south side of the building and then just running a ramp adjacent to the building from the south side of the building up to the steps on the front. And then maybe reworking the steps so that all tied together and looked decent. And that would handle at least the ADA aspect of it. And that's been lost, I guess, in time. I don't think any of you were around when we looked at that. But the handicap space in the back is grossly inadequate. So if we do tackle the ADA aspect of that to get people in the building, it wouldn't satisfy the restroom requirements perhaps, but it would start whittling away at that ADA workload we've got.
I'm open to hearing what the consultant suggests if he or she has any ideas for us. I mean, the more ideas, the better, I think. And I can see here that we have, if there's no other board discussion directors, I do see we have someone that would like to make a public comment. So, Leon?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Leon Korkos here. I actually wrote a letter. And, you know, I like the building. I have had meetings in the building, both at CPAC, FOVAC, it goes on and on. But the near $1 million price tag, I don't know where that came from. I don't even know how it's possible that could be $1 million to do that. But I do have one question, technical question, maybe Mike can throw this out there. If this library were to be eliminated from the project, right, and was to be brought up at a later date, and you got bids to do it, to do whatever you want to do to that building, and your bids were less than $130,000, you're maxed out on your ADA of 20% of that budget. I mean, I've gone through it on my property in the village around every corner, right? So, and I don't think to put in an ADA bathroom and take down the paneling and do what you want to do is going to be anywhere near $120,000. So if you could take it out of this project for now completely, bring it back in as its own permit, if you want to call it that, down the road, then you might be able to fall under the radar with the $120,000. It might even be $135,000 now budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm not sure on the public buildings if that is the same requirement, but we can definitely look into it. There may be some difference between public facilities versus private facilities.
Because if there is, that's a huge savings.
Yeah, a couple of clarifications. I may be off base here, but the library was originally conceived as a separate project, not necessarily with the two parks and the clubhouse and the amphitheater, but to be possibly a separate project concurrently. Was that correct, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct. It is not part of the Village Plaza clubhouse nor the amphitheater.
And
so it is. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, so then it is its own project on a separate permit.
Right. Now, the other clarification is, while the $1 million sounds crazy, that took into account removing the road that's on the south side, adding more parking for the village and for the building itself, abandoning that little chunk of street, and there's an extensive roof repairs. I guess some of the roofing joists or rafters or whatever are shot. So it included a lot of structural stuff too. So it wasn't just ADA.
I get that, but I'm also saying that you're looking at $1,250 a square foot. That's absurd. You could build the Taj Mahal for $1,250 a square foot.
Build a hospital.
Yeah.
And I think that's the concern the board's had and why we tabled that for further study and consideration, because that was too big a chunk of money, at least in my mind, to spend on the building. A lot of the comments I've seen from people are just, why don't you leave it alone? You know, we do have to at some point whittle away at the ADA deficiencies, but you know, by and large, that's kind of, I think, the direction we're going in right now. Just leave it alone, do the minimum.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because you're going to be spending if not, you're spending a whole lot of money that you can use on something else.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out.
Thanks, Leon.
Thanks, Leon.
Okay, so I think our direction to you, Mike, is to, unless I'm speaking out of turn here, is to have as long as there's no financial impact to us, to have the consultant take a look at the project and see if he or she has any ideas for the library and a way we can move forward.
And just, you know, from the public comment there, I will also look into, you know, the possibility of a reduced project with some ADA accommodations.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great.
Great.
It sounds good.
Okay, so let's move to our last agenda item, which is discussion and possible action on potential changes to the fireside room in the community clubhouse. And I believe this is Sean.
Hello, Board of Directors. Good evening. I'm Sean Ventura, Park and Facilities Manager with Fair Oaks Rec and Park District. Just coming here to you tonight to talk about our current plans and a modification to those renovation plans for the community clubhouse that we would like approval for. When we were doing a walkthrough of the facility, going over an investigation for the potential stage removal in the clubhouse, the idea struck us about how we were short of storage space in the community clubhouse, in the district in general, honestly, but in the community clubhouse in particular. We were hoping to, and I'm going to share my screen here just to kind of show you the current, there it is, the current setup here. You can all see that. This is the foyer right inside the front doors of the community clubhouse. Through those double doors is the auditorium. To the left, you see the door to the fireside room. I don't have a lot of establishing shots. Sorry, I'm kind of under quarantine right now, so I only have what I still had available on my phone. If we move inside the fireside room here, this is from right inside that door labeled fireside room. The next shot is at the far side. This door here goes up to the stage. Turning around, looking back the way we came, these are the windows that face the front of the clubhouse. And this is back through the door we walked in from. That's just a basic, so you kind of know what room we're talking about and kind of the general dimensions of that. We're hoping for approval to, rather than convert this into a meeting room, convert this room into a storage room for both the district, for our everyday tables and chairs, for special events, and perhaps have some sort of cubby system for instructors who utilize that space. Our reasons are several. With the addition of the Black Box Theater and how we are partnering with some other organizations in the area, a lot of the plays that were in that facility will likely be moved to other stages, whether that be in the Black Box Theater or with a partnership with Meristem Schools. So the use of that stage for plays will be lessened. And that's pertinent because oftentimes the fireside room is used as a green room. So we feel like the usage of that room will be much reduced. apart from that, it is one of our least utilized rooms as far as rentals go throughout the district. When you think about the use of it, it doesn't have its own restroom. So if you were to rent it, and we were renting out one of our most rented rooms, the clubhouse auditorium, you would have no access to a restroom. You'd have to actually go outside and either head down to Village Hall or use the public restrooms out in Village Park. So making it into a meeting room doesn't really, to staff, make a lot of sense at this point, because the people using it wouldn't have amenities in there. As part of this renovation, we would potentially board up over the fireplace there, block off the door leading up to the stage, because it's going to take an extensive amount of work to make that ADA accessible as it is. So the stage, I don't have a shot of it, but that would essentially be evened out rather than a staircase down to the fireside room. There's also some water damage from the front windows there, which leak, and it's causing dry rot at the base of those windows, which would already have been repaired as part of making it into a meeting room, but it would still be accomplished by turning that into a storage facility there. As part of this also, we would return the foyer to its original dimensions. If any of you have been in that room, you can kind of, as you walk in the front doors, see it bellies out to the left, and the right wall is right there as you walk in. Originally, that was the walls were equidistant to the right and left, but the storage for tables and chairs was expanded a couple of years ago. As part of this, we would push that wall back out to the right and move the table and chair storage, which is still inefficient, over into the table and chair room. I think that about covers it. We're just looking for approval on this point to kind of continue with the architects at making this part of the design. Are there any questions?
Sean, I got a question for you. When we're talking about the stairway from the room up to the stage, it raised the question in my mind, what is our accessibility to the stage? Is Tim looking at that in any way?
Yes, he is looking at that. It was, as part of the original design concept right now, it would be, I think, currently on the books is a lift to the left of the stage going up in the auditorium. But then we would have to do additional work to make the stairway going from the fireside room up to the stage ADA accessible. And that,
they both have to be accessible.
Yeah.
Then.
Yes, and that's that would take an extensive amount of work to make that happen. As you probably know, to the right of the stairwell is the electrical subpanel for the whole building, right, and to the left is part of the organ.
So that doorway would be walled off, and then the floor where the steps are would be raised to the stage level.
On the opposite side of the door, correct.
Yeah, I been thinking about that since this morning's discussion with the architect. I really like the idea of getting rid of that closet space in the foyer. You know, that kind of ruined the spaciousness of the foyer when we did that. I like the double doors into the fireside room. I like the idea of storage. The thought that came to my mind was it would be, you know, if tables and chairs and stuff are stored there, when you're having a big event like a soup night or a senior luau or something like that, the room would be devoid of chairs and tables that would be set up. Both of those events usually have silent auctions using the fireside room. So, you know, my thought is, can that be a storage room, but also be flexible in its use? So those double doors could be thrown open and it could be part of the clubhouse rental for those kind of events. The only thing I think it would require is the cubbies for your instructors would need to be, you know, lockable lockers or something like that.
Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that all of our tables and chairs do have racks, rolling racks with them. That would have to be placed somewhere to not essentially have the room taken up with empty chair and table racks. But it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility. That's something we could work with on that. And typically with our instructor storage areas, just like rotary storage areas, they're locked so that other instructors can't access other people's belongings. They feel safer that the district doesn't access their belongings, that sort of thing. So I think locking those would be pretty standard.
Yeah, so I mean, the more flexible we can make that space, the better. The other storage room that existed before we expanded into the foyer, that has space for maybe storage racks and things like that if you wanted to use that room, I think. We are planning to leave that closet area there, or are we going to do something with that? The one that's currently table storage.
It is our fire control systems, so it would have to at least stay for that houses our alarm panel and our fire suppression system lines. And I'm getting word from, thank you, Katie, the fireside room also, we do break fire code if we have a large number of people in there, just because of the size of it and how many exits it would have. So we might have to get creative with where silent auctions and other parts of events were held, because we would only have one exit in and out.
I see.
Well, I think tonight we're just looking to decide whether we want to approve staff's recommendation that it be used as storage, and we can talk more about the details of the space and what we want it to accomplish, or more specifics at a later time, right? Or is that correct, Sean?
Yes, thank you.
Well, let me just chime in there. We can bring these concerns into the development process. Probably won't come back to the board with them, but we can definitely bring them in through the design process. So letting them know if that's a concern for that room, that it might have some potential other uses besides storage.
Sounds good.
Are there any other questions? Any other directors? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. So would someone like to make a motion to adopt staff's recommendation?
I'll make the motion to adopt the staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing there are none opposed, we will start transforming the fireside room. So that brings us to board and staff reports. I'd like to start with items from the board of directors. So John, do you have any items tonight you'd like to discuss?
Do not.
Okay. Darren?
Nope, I'm all good.
Ralph?
You should never ask me. I always am chatty. I noticed that the Rose Parade was canceled for the first time in its 100 and so many decades run. I'm wondering about our Chicken Festival. Have we announced cancellation of that? And along the same line, are we expending a lot of staff time thinking about it and planning for it? Or should we just make a decision to hold off this year?
Go ahead, Katie. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm back in. Yes, we have actually made a decision to cancel all events through December, just because of the likelihood that we will not be allowed to have, especially not a 15,000 person event, but in reality, I don't think that we're going to see the permission to have events at this point through the end of the year. So we did, as a management team, make that decision a little early on in COVID, and it has been announced, the Chicken Festival.
Oh, has it? Okay, I missed that. Thank you.
It'll be announced a few more times, Ralph, just to be sure everybody's aware. You'll see it again.
Yeah, so that also applies to, well, no, I'm mixing things up here. That's good. That's all I have.
Raymond James?
From me?
I don't have anything either. So I guess we'll turn it over to staff. Katie, do you have anything?
I do. I have two items I just wanted to make the board aware of. Thank you. The first is that we are, I'm sure most of you have heard that San Juan, well, the state or county of Sacramento made their decision today that students will not be going back to school in the fall for at least the first 2 months, and they'll reassess based on the status of COVID at that time. We are still pushing forward with our preschool. It's a recreation-based, childcare-focused preschool. So under the current information that's been released, we still are permitted to do childcare-focused items So unfortunately, it'll go from 20 students in a class to 12. It will move to a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, AM and PM, and a Thursday, Friday, just AM. Just polling our parents, it's easier just to have all of the same kids together 3 straight days and not mix and mingle throughout. It just requires more staff time for cleaning. We will have to hire a part-time staff member just for an extra set of eyes and to stay in a safe ratio because we cannot have parent participation moving forward because it's too many different parents in the classroom each day, which I know is going to be a big change because I know some parents really love it, but we will forge through and learn all the new norm for that. But we are pushing through. We did registration. The parents are very excited. And we have all of our protocols in place for cleaning and handling all situations that may arise. So that is preschool. And then San Juan Unified School District did reach out to most local park districts a few months ago to poll and see if we were interested in providing all-day childcare, which we don't normally do. And we don't always do after school because they have their Bridges program and their Discovery Club. Staff is currently in the process of assessing some location options because you can only have 12 kids at a time, and it would be a week fee that they would pay, and they'd be there Monday through Friday. So we're assessing that, pricing that out, and we plan to sit down with Mike in the coming weeks and talk about our options to see if we can provide hopefully 2 different site locations, at least for the beginning of the school year, since we will likely not break ground in the clubhouse area before the end of the year, which allows possibly the usage for the arts and crafts for a second location. So we are looking into that, and I'm sure we will come back with an update to the board once we work it through Mike.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Sean, do you have any items?
Yes. Hi, hello again. So I've got 2 quick items. I know it's getting late, so I will not take too much of your time. The first one I wanted to bring to your attention was that I wanted to let you all know that we did have some cost overruns with the bike park construction, and I wanted you to be aware of it sooner rather than later. We had some equipment go down due to just a weld breaking. So we weren't able to use our own backhoe for the project, so we did have to rent some additional equipment. On top of that, we did have to also rent a water truck to keep the dust down from the area, just so nobody's damaged by that, and no property was damaged by that. So we're looking at just around $5,000 to $7,000, depending on some contract details we're digging into right now. So that's just a heads up. On a brighter note, we are still working on our tree program, and I wanted to let you know that I know you've all probably seen some trees failing out there at Phoenix after our 100 tree planting. Part of that has been because our drip lines were laid on top of mulched areas which had grown over, and the drip lines were hit by mowers on a regular basis. So we have spent the time and the resources now to trench out for those drip lines and set it up so that we can reestablish some new trees and keep the ones that we've got in there from going belly up. So just something nice, and that's all I got.
Thanks, Sean. Jennifer?
I just have a quick reminder for all of the board directors who are running for re-election. Candidate filing is now open. It will be open until August 7th. You need to make an appointment with them, or they prefer that you'd make an appointment with them. You can do that online or call them, and they'll be happy to set that up for you. And if you guys need any information, I'm happy to help, but the Sac County Election Office is fantastic, and they're very, very helpful. So don't hesitate to contact them.
Just a comment, I did that this morning. I made an appointment. I was there at 8 a.m. I was the only one that was in there.
You're the first one I saw signed up for anything, John.
So they were extremely helpful, and I was in and out in 40 minutes.
They're fantastic.
And you can download all the forms online, as you probably already know, but there's a bunch of other forms that you need to sign when you've got to go in. You got to take the oath of office.
Jennifer, will you send me the link via email for that?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, and Mike?
Yeah, I've got quite a few things. I'm going to go quickly though. first of all, the Bloomberg grant that we applied for, that was to do art on the utility boxes in Village Plaza Park. It was a $20,000 grant, and we did not receive that. And so we'll continue to investigate opportunities to try and pretty up the park and our utility boxes with other options. The 75th anniversary this year, October 8th, for our district. We've been working hard on that. We're working on a historic display and the kickoff for it on October 8th. Some changes. We're trying to decide how COVID-19 will play into this. So there's some challenges, but we are working on two parallels, one with no restrictions and one with all restrictions. And you will see in your final budget in August a $18,000 budget for the 75th bond, or the 75th anniversary. That's for a variety of different projects, and we'll be giving you more information on that at a later date. We're scheduling, and you can put this on your calendar if you would, the pump track ribbon cutting. It'll be a virtual event. It'll right now, and I think we're pretty solid on this. It'll be Thursday, July 23rd at 4 p.m. And we would love to have everybody there. And we will be sending out invites for that. Proposition 68 is now moving again, and it just started a couple of weeks ago. We got notification that we will receive $177,952 on the per capita portion of that. We will be attending a workshop here in the next couple of weeks, and then we still have to put an application in, but it's a guarantee amount. We do have to match it with 20%. You've decided to put that money towards Swallow Way, so our 20% match is very easy to come by with that. We also, as part of the per capita, will receive a per capita based on an urbanized county, and that's the population in a large county with less than 200,000 people, which we are. We will receive an additional $21,490 for that, and that is also going to Swallow Way. So you're almost to 200,000 from Prop 68 right there. You're slightly shy of that amount. We'll hopefully be able to make that 200,000 goal from Prop 68. If not, we're going to have to dip into it from our impact fees to cover that difference. And then finally, or not finally on that per capita piece, is the RIRE, which is the Revenue Enhancement Program from Prop 68. That's for folks that have passed a bond measure like us, and that's on hold still. They are still announcing a minimum of $250,000 for that, though, and we are qualified for that. And again, we're just waiting on the state to get that rolling again. And finally, with Prop 68, round 4 has been announced, and round 4 is very similar to round 3. Round 3 was our amphitheater project application. We're looking at what we will be applying for in round 4, and if we will. Right now, the staff is leaning toward reapplying the amphitheater again, but we need some clarification from the state on why our application was not scored high, why our application did not score high enough on that first round, on the third round is what it was. So a lot other areas outside of the district do not meet two of the main qualifications, which are park poor, areas that have not enough parkland per capita, and also an income base, a lower income base. We do not qualify into the lower income base in any of our park areas, but we do qualify in Village Plaza Park for a park poor area. And so we're looking at that, trying to determine if we have any other opportunities to apply, or if we're just going to go back in with the amphitheater and maybe with some modifications. But we'll see what happens with that. We'll definitely.
Can I interject? When you have the park poor qualifications, I'm just wondering if our proposed community center by the library, you know, within a half mile there outside of our district is a lot of income poor area. That doesn't count, has to be within our district.
Exactly. Okay. And it doesn't, it is well over the minimum land for parks because of Fair Oaks Park.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of our first hopes, was to apply for the community center with Prop 68 money, but it was a non-starter.
Hey, Mike, real quick, on the ribbon cutting, you said it's a virtual. Is that virtual for the public or virtual for all of us?
All of us. We will have a very small number of folks, potentially someone from Family Free Ride, and then one of our staff filming there, and the rest of us will all be off-site.
So there's going to be like one person holding a ribbon and cutting it. I mean, how does that work?
We're working on all those kind of operational details. It might be like our John Wayne allegiance.
Back in the good old days when you could actually cut a ribbon.
Yeah, we might have just enough people there to cut a ribbon, but they have to, for the most part, be from the same household. And so we might be able to pull that off. Yeah. The final thing I have on my report here is we'll be convening the personnel committee. My evaluation is coming due. It's actually due this month, but we'll be holding it off until August because you had such a busy July meeting. And I want you to remember that I took it off this agenda so you could get home early.
Home early, yeah. I think we're all home.
You get a couple brownie points for that.
Yeah.
So we'll convene them and start that process. The one thing I do want to ask about that, and it can be just a concurrence from you, it doesn't have to be a board action, is last year you let the committee fill out the evaluation. No, actually the whole board did. We just sent it to the whole board. So I will, if that's a concurrence, I will send that to the entire board, and then you can fill out that evaluation, and then we'll be going over it in a closed session in August. Okay.
I concur.
Thank you. And that is all I have.
Are there any other comments from anyone? All right, so if I could have a motion, please, to adjourn.
I'll move that we adjourn to the meeting of, what would that be, August 19 at 6 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's a wrap.
Aye.
Adios.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Appreciate it.
Good to see your smiling faces again.
There you go.
Miss you all.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.
Enjoy your trip, Raymond James.
And happy birthday again.
Yes, happy birthday. All right, bye-bye.